one.
Well, thank you guys for being here this evening. As our way of checking in today, we're studying the 4th chapter of the Parenting with Love and Logic book. Are you going to join us, Hal, or are you going to check on the kids? Either way, see how they're doing. So, I'd like you to take a look at the pictures on the floor and see if, just spend a few seconds letting your eyes scan over them, and then I want in your mind for you to pick a picture that speaks to you this evening. And you can leave them there. We'll pick them up as.
I'm going to stay in it.
That's what I was thinking of.
You can pick a picture that somebody else is holding too. You don't have to stick to the ones that are on the ground.
Annette, can I have that one in front of you?
This one?
Okay.
And this one new?
What's that one saying?
It's kind of off.
Recovery. Oh, discovery. Discovery. I was thinking recovery because that's one of the models.
Yeah, I was like,
I could see the
the wrong one
vodka
for the meeting.
bottle and thank goodness.
Let's just turn that one over. I want an appetite when I go home.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to share with us your picture and then why it speaks to you and anything that you want to share since last time we've checked in. So I picked Albert Einstein, and it's supposed to say anyone who has never made up, but then I cut the bottom off, and it said something about mistake, and I don't remember what it said, but it was something like anyone who has never made a mistake isn't trustworthy or isn't, I don't even know.
Isn't
But-
trying hard enough?
Yeah, something like that. But
Never
since I
learned.
cut the bottom off, I was like, there we go. That speaks to me this evening because that is my mistaken. But and let's see, things have been really busy with the Arnsky family, and the kids are finally all under one roof. It's been like 4 weeks since we've all been in the same place at the same time. And, that makes for lots of sibling squabbles, so yay fun. Okay. Anybody ready to go second? Oh, we don't volunteer each other?
I'm still trying to figure out my picture.
This is what happens when you give a child a cell phone. Because this is what I did the first year he had the cell phone. Well, I still go through his messages. But we also wrote him a contract to get his cell phone. And he has to abide by it. And it is, among other things, it is our cell phone, we are letting you use it. Anything on it, we can see, and we can read. You have to maintain certain grades to keep it. Any bad language on the cell phone, you lose it. And whoever is sending the bad language, if it's somebody else sending it to you, you can't text them, you have to erase them from your contacts. And you cannot have contact with them for 6 months. And that happened the first 6 months he had his phone. Because we're very mean parents. And it was not, it wouldn't have been a bad word in some people's households, but it was a very bad word in ours. We raised AJ that stupid and shut up are bad words. And anytime any kids came to our house to spend the night, I had to go over the rules. You say shut up, stupid, or freak, and you go home. Because we don't use those words, especially to each other. But this is still happening. This phase still happens.
When you get the bill.
No, it's not the bill, it's looking at his cell phone.
Thank you.
It's good. Yes.
Okay. Next.
I can imagine the words that are on there. Okay, I picked this picture. It's a little girl with her finger caught in a Chinese finger trap. Because once upon a time, I went to Spencer's and I bought some Chinese finger traps and gave them to my kids and explained to them, do not put both fingers in them at the same time. And guess what they did?
Immediately.
Immediately. Put the fingers in them both at the same time, got them stuck. I just left them that way for a little while. And eventually I showed them how to take them out. And right after I showed them how to get free from them, they turned around and did it again.
Of course they do, because now they have to know if they can do it on their own.
Yeah.
I thought that was the whole point of them, was to get your kids stuck like this.
Then I picked the one with the, looks like the father here scolding the son. And I've done that a lot before. Sometimes I feel like I have to do that with my kids. I don't like doing that, but I know in this chapter 4 I was looking at, it said, let the kids suffer the consequences, you know. And at one thing it said, like, if the kids didn't get dressed, let them go to church in their pajamas. If they, if I, God, you know, I don't know. If I guess I could do that.
They would enjoy it, and then they would think they get to go to church in a pajama.
Well, yeah, because
I don't see why not.
At least they're in church.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes I feel like I'm the one that gets scolded all the time too. It seemed like the other day I was getting scolded for things, and then right away I started feeling sorry for myself, and, you know, crying and all that. And I said, I just hate doing that. I'm trying to get away from feeling sorry for myself. And then, then I get angry, and then I get sorry for myself. And this all happens within a second.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, I'm going to actually make a conscious effort to do something and actually drive down here, come in here and pray, like a hotline to God, because I know you can pray to God anywhere. But I thought, this way I'm making an effort to get out of the house, go somewhere. And I did that, and yep, it worked. Instead of, maybe some self-destructive behavior that I might do or something. But, so yeah, I like that. It's kind of like another tool maybe I have to try to deal with my emotions.
A coping skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's some kind of supernatural thing, the way, for me anyway, the way it just takes the, self-pity and why me, blah, 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 that kind of thing away from me. I get so tired of feeling that way. And I think people can actually get caught up and enjoy feeling sorry for themselves.
Mhm.
Through my life experience, I've talked to people, and they just really enjoy that. And it's hard for them to break that habit.
Mm.
And but yeah, when it comes to parenting, I don't want to be that type of parent,
Mm.
for sure.
How do you think the little boy is feeling?
Hopefully he feels ashamed.
Hopefully
Sad.
he feels ashamed.
I think he's,
Understands that whatever he did was wrong.
Okay.
and I think he's starting to feel sorry for himself, and probably mad. He's feeling the same things that I feel that as an adult, which I should have dumped those feelings as a child. That's when I see him feeling sorry for himself, and then anger at his dad. I don't know. Maybe not.
Probably more thinking about, how am I getting caught?
How did I get caught?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, Hector,
posed it as a joke. I really did. 'Cause
It's a depiction of us sending one to China or Malaysia for child labor services.
It's a joke. It really is. When he starts acting up, and he even started joking about it now. We're gonna send it to
Trade you?
China. We're gonna do it, and yeah, send me. I want to make new friends. Really? Man. But it was a joke at first.
I see, so you're sending them to China.
So that's why it spoke to me, because it was the joke that all three of us do. He doesn't take it seriously. He's just.
My parents were gonna sell us to the gypsies.
I threatened to take our kids to the zoo and leave them with the monkeys.
Okay.
I threatened AJ with military school.
That sounds like an honest threat.
It is. If I could have found one near Nashville, he'd have been in it.
Now we threaten them with pirates because apparently it's not ethnically sensitive to threaten them with gypsies. So pirates are, you know,
What
equal.
about pirates? Come on, who's sticking up for the pirates?
Arr.
Arr.
Arr. Pirate Day. Get them ready. Walk the plank, walk the plank. Okay. Is there anything else you want to share about?
No, literally, that's the first and only thing that popped into my head. I didn't have anything.
Okay.
What did you say?
Oh, I picked this one because I read it and it kept bothering me because it's got a typo. It says, you're making progress when you start making mistakes. So I said, don't.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, that's pretty funny. It's just like mine with the cut off bottom.
You're the only one.
I am.
Yeah.
And yours also twice on this.
So does that bother you when you see
Yes,
it?
he is a grammar Nazi. He is. Everything has to be correct.
You should proofread the bulletins every week.
Well, I mean,
What?
Say it.
no, I mean,
You
Yeah.
keep pointing at it.
well, no, okay, like when, it's like literally 5 minutes before we came here, I was playing a video game, and I finally decided on the game, to burst out of my little safety zone, and I made plenty new mistakes and it cost a lot of lives, so.
A lot of
But
people died.
I knew I was making progress.
Not people, dinosaurs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, the dinosaurs.
Yes,
The poor babies.
the dinosaur died. But I was making progress.
And you
And
switched
those
he
were my
knows.
mistakes.
Dinosaur hunter.
Excellent. Okay.
Are you gonna take mine now?
Would you like to
I took this one because I
That was only different now.
I picked this one because anytime that something happens and they take my grandson away, I always say that I am going to pack him up and I'm going to move to another atmosphere, just him and me. So when I
You
saw
explained
that,
it a lot better, that we take
when
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 something
does-
is happening so bad,
when
when
something
and they
happens
take my
and,
grandson away.
well,
Yeah.
when, did I say sperm donor?
Yeah, you could say sperm
Okay.
donor.
When the sperm donor decides to show up and act like a dad when he's not, because he's the dad. And the court system is so intelligent that they give him rights that he doesn't deserve, they shouldn't give him at all. I always tell Melanie, and it's not a joke,
No, it's not. She didn't do it.
you let me know and I will have him packed and me packed and ready to go. And I will find a way to let you know that he is safe and he is fine, but that is it. And until I know that no one will ever take him away from you, then I will come back.
It sounds like a lot of anxiety to live with.
Yes, it is, and it's a lot of hurt. And that's when I saw that, I said, yeah, he's gonna be happy. Going back? Yeah.
Well, I want to share with you a scripture that they shared in the book. No, I want to share with you a different scripture. From James 3:2-3. Does anybody want to offer to read it for us?
They're right there. For all of us make many mistakes. Anyone who makes no mistakes in speaking is perfect, able to keep the whole body in check with the bridle. If we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we guide their whole bodies.
So, what do you hear in that little piece of text? It's just a little piece of the letter to James.
Tell them, keep your mouth shut and do what I tell you, you'll be fine.
Okay. What's the expectation as far as making mistakes? That you don't.
Then we're gonna make
You're
them.
gonna learn from it.
Okay, so we're gonna make them and we're gonna learn from them.
And nobody's perfect.
And nobody's perfect. Thank God. How does it sit with you, this text? Does it make you feel anything or think anything?
Can you read that one more
It,
time?
it makes you think that you need to think before you speak.
Okay.
Or listen and don't speak.
It says, "For all of us make many mistakes. Anyone who makes no mistakes in speaking is perfect, able to keep the whole body in check with a bridle. But if we put bits into the mouth of horses to make them obey us, we guide their whole bodies." So, kind of makes me want to do yoga for ringtone. I might not ever remember to answer that one. So basically, if we have control of our mouths, the rest follows. I mean, there's that element, you know. But also, everybody makes mistakes. What do you hear in it, Anna?
That's that too. That's what I heard. You know, you have to keep your. Just don't say anything. You know, you feel like just yelling something, and it's best just to not say anything. But if you do mess up and cuss and holler and all that, then you know, just get over it. It's too late. You've already said it. The damage has already been done. You know, I mean, even if someone is getting onto you to where you're actually justified in saying it, just don't do it. That's what I have to deal with, that anger that hits me real fast, where I just, you know. And yeah, that's what I hear in it. If you hold your tongue, then the rest will follow. You know, a moment will go by, then another moment, then you know, it just takes a little bit of time for you to kind of restrain yourself. And once you've got that, you start feeling a whole lot better in just a minute, each minute that passes by. But if you mess up and you cuss and say whatever, then it's going to take a lot longer for you to feel right again.
Sometimes you go down that anger road and it's self-feeding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we used to talk about the kids rehearsing their anger. Like, I have one child, you will be able to guess who, like, if she spends too long in the bathroom, you can tell she's rehearsing her. She gets in front of the mirror and she'll practice, you know, being upset at us, and then come out and, you know, have a whole speech worked up about, you know, how evil we are.
I do that.
Huh?
I used to do that.
Yeah, I used to do it too.
I'll sometimes still do it. Talking about her is a lot better than actually saying it to the person.
Mick has
That
little
was
arguments with
crazy.
himself concerning me all the time. He runs in his room and you can hear him in there, Dad this, Dad that, Dad that.
All right.
Me too, I'll get that too.
It's good
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah, you
we
get
go to
that
private
myself.
spaces though to do it, you
Yeah.
know.
Sometimes it's best to get that anger out also, because if it's just for fun, that's unhealthy too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're gonna do an activity. The first part of this is I need everybody to,
No yoga.
the book said demonstrate a circle with your hand. So, take your right hand. All right. And demonstrate a circle with your hand. That's where you start. Try like this, like make a, trace a circle. All right. Now,
This feels like yoga.
all right, good. Now stop. Everybody's got it. Now make a cross with your left hand. Very good. All got it? So far it's easy, right? Okay, and do them both at the same time. All right, right hand goes.
Okay, I got
I'm doing good until this one starts to go this way.
I know.
And then that's, if I go backwards, I can probably do it.
I'm gonna hit
Do
you
I have
right
to
in
go
the face
right,
in a
or can I
minute.
go backwards? 'Cause if
I don't care if you go
backwards-
backwards. You kind of have like a
I got, like, a
funny
weird-
elliptical cross
Yeah.
going, but you're getting it.
We can do
I got
this
it.
too.
All right, now can you do it with your right hand and your right foot? Make the circle with your foot.
Ow. Wait.
And the
That feels
cross.
good. That's good for your
I can't do it. And the cross with
Oh,
your
see, I
hand.
don't do that.
No, okay, so make sure you're doing the same.
I'm trying to go in the circle.
I can't do this.
I can't do a circle, just make one.
I did it, but my foot keeps locking up, so.
I can do it, yeah.
I have 203 steps on my feet.
203 steps. Her tongue's out. With enough practice, you could do it, right?
No.
No? You think with enough practice you could do it? Enough video game time?
Yeah. Enough hand-foot coordination.
It's really hard.
It is.
When I was teaching preschool, they would teach us to sign our names in cursive going forward and backwards. Same kind of activity. I can do that, I think. I think I can.
Oh, that's hard.
It's hard.
Like a mirror.
Yeah.
Blank on everything. I can do right with both.
But that's working together. That's kind of like your right and left brain working together almost.
Yeah, but it's like I'm not. Yeah, it's not gonna work. I
I
couldn't
usually
even
write
get
all
this
my
one
notes
right.
backwards in cursive.
Backwards in cursive?
Yeah, all my notes to my friends, we write backwards in cursive.
Let's see.
I still
That's
practice
skill, see,
Okay.
you know,
and upside down.
I can write upside down.
I could read upside down, backwards,
Yeah.
reverse upside down, anything.
I could do that too, but don't
Can you even read the mirrored image and then without
Mirror, backwards,
putting it
upside
to a
down,
mirror? 'Cause
everything.
sometimes I look at it and I think, it's hard until you put it up to a mirror.
the stuff that's the numbers and it's supposed to make up the letters and everything like that.
So sometimes we have to make mistakes to make progress, right? Like I couldn't do that activity without making like 1,000 mistakes before I even got close to doing it right. You don't think you could ever do it?
No, I'm not coordinated enough.
I had a class once where I had to learn how to juggle. I think I've told you this before, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. And to get an A, you had to learn how to juggle. It was anatomical psychology. Could not do it. I tried and I tried and I tried. Not one of my skill sets. Alright, so I need you to make two groups. I think people who are married to each other should probably be in separate groups, okay? So, break into two groups and we're going to, have a little discussion. So you can just form like a little triad with your.
She's saying, we're not married.
Yeah, I looked right at her. People who are related too, so, like, this.
Alright, so it's you and Anna
Yeah.
and Sally and the rest of y'all. Alright?
Okay.
Coming over.
Alright. Can related work too? We'll be fine.
Yeah, you're over here. You guys are together.
Melanie.
You're with the ladies.
Oh. Oh, two groups. Jesus.
Two groups of three.
One of these days.
Or three groups of two? Alright.
Alright.
Yep. The title of our book is, or the title of our chapter this week, I'm sorry, is Children's Mistakes Are Their Opportunity. And so what I'd like you to do is take the first 2 minutes and talk with your group about what you think about just that phrase. You know, talk about what that brings up in you. Take 2 minutes and talk it through. Okay?
I see a
So-
blur, I don't know what you're showing.
Children's mistakes.
I
Are
heard
there
what she said.
opportunities?
When I look at that, I see a blur. I can see the children's mistakes, but underneath there, no.
Okay. You don't need to see it though. You guys can just have a conversation, you three together and you three together, and
It's kind of like
we'll check in 2 minutes.
in the old days,
I
you
know
know,
it's supposed to work, but it
we
doesn't
have
work.
a huge TV set.
Children are
sitting on top
supposed to
of a
make
little
mistakes,
tiny
they're supposed to learn from.
coffee table.
With me, they keep making
And
the same mistake.
I think a comedian said this once, but it's the same thing my uncle used to always
So
say.
I spend 90% of my
Oh,
time
those
reteaching.
kids are gonna knock that TV over
That's
onto
very
themselves.
frustrating.
My uncle would say,
I
let
was
them, they
brought
won't
up.
do it again.
C1, D1, teach
So,
one. C1, D1, teach one.
it's kind of like that, that's the drastic view of it, but
My kids is
so
C,
if they
C, C,
knock the
C,
TV
C,
over on
C,
themselves,
C,
they're not gonna do it again, so that's an opportunity.
Right, we can learn.
Yeah, that's
If
what
it's
I,
a danger, the other thing is if they make a mistake and they, it's an opportunity to learn, because they learn by taking responsibility for whatever their mistake they make. They need ownership, they, it's a, they have to take ownership of
That's
everything.
what I say.
And it's even,
I wish it
Make the
worked that
mistake
way.
over and over and over and over and over again.
If it
You don't-
really,
I
if
used
it
to,
really
AJ
worked
would
that
do
way,
really bad, and say, I'm so
parents
happy.
would whole
And it
lot.
finally
Piece
got
of cake.
There would be so much
long
simpler.
break.
My kids,
You
just
should be so
getting them
proud.
to stay focused on what you're teaching them
Yeah, I'm
for
proud
more
of
than
you.
5
You should
seconds
be
is
really
almost
proud.
impossible. It's like, okay, now watch what I do.
But he,
This is how you do
because
this.
he needs to know, I mean.
You look back and you're like,
This is kindergarten.
it's like, all right, now did you see what I did?
Said, done something, we made him go to the teacher.
I'm gonna do it again.
You go home.
Watch this time. You can even be sitting right in front of them and say, watch what I did. This is what I'm showing you. This is how you do it. And
But
they
it's
still,
their opportunity to learn and to grow.
to me, that's very
To me, it's their
frustrating.
opportunity to grow, whatever mistake it is.
I used
My
to
dad
let
was
him
a
eat the dirt
perfectionist.
outside.
Even though he wasn't around
Because,
when I was
yeah,
6 years
and
old,
people,
he was a
I don't know who,
perfectionist.
but you know, you're around some mothers or something,
I
and
always
they'd
wanted
say,
to please my dad
oh
because
my
he
God,
didn't have
let him eat the dirt or whatever, and I'd say, no, you
So
you
I
have
didn't
to
want him to
let
go
him
away
do that.
again.
Because
So
it does,
I
it
did
builds up
everything
your
I
egos,
could.
I mean, that's a
It
medical
does.
standpoint.
I
They're-
hate bug pies.
They're only gonna do it for a
Because
short
my brother
time.
was there.
And
There's
this,
nothing that you could do.
It's like, you
that
know,
was right
it's
for
just
you.
a 5-second rule, we've never had a
This is how you
5
do it.
second.
You know, what if you
It's
do it
a-
this way, Dad?
AJ
There
rearranged.
is no this way, there is no
AJ
that way.
rearranged his furniture.
It's my way.
When he moved his bed, there was a skittle. He's like, oh,
I'm
skittle.
not that way.
And I said,
If you can come to the same
I said, how long's it been? He's like,
ending, no matter
I
how
haven't
you
had
get there,
skittles in
I'm
weeks.
fine
I
with
said,
it.
go ahead,
He ate it. It's like a self-wrapped food.
yeah, it's fine.
All right. Now, I want you in your groups to take a few minutes and
You
think,
got balloons.
think about how, what the overarching theme of your conversation was, and I want you to think about the way the three of you could pose your bodies to depict for the rest of us what you talked about. So it'll be, maybe like you're a sculpture for us.
Like charades.
Yeah, but you're not going to move. You're going to pose once and stay put, okay? So it can just be kind of conceptual feeling pose, or it can be, a scene that you're creating for us, or whatever you want. But the three of you are going to pose together. If you need to borrow me, you can borrow my body and tell me where to put it. That's fine. But you'll pose together for us, and then we'll experience that, and then you can share with us your reflections on what it felt like to be that sculpture. Okay, so you've got 3 minutes to talk through how you would like to do that.
How are we sculpting?
Letting.
You can do that.
That's one.
Okay.
Or you could be the kid just looking
That's
the
what
other
you can look
direction. Just looking away.
Yeah, the
You're not paying attention. And I'll be the one.
Yeah.
scolding.
Well, no,
Yeah,
it's
Because
something
they have
I
to
don't
take
know.
ownership of it.
Yeah, you like, there you go, we got it. All right, we're done.
Do you need to practice at all, or are you good?
No, we're good.
All right, excellent. You can pull your seats back when you're ready. You ready?
I'll go bottom, I'm shortest. Just don't spill my drink. You gotta stand behind me, or heel behind me, or something. I can't hold this pose long, so I'll start laughing.
Alright, we got you.
Thank you.
Okay, we got.
All right, so what did you see? What did you see in their pose?
One screaming child.
Yeah.
One thinking about what the consequence was, because this one's screaming and the other one's like, uh-oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. And the other one, how you doing?
All right. Any other observations?
I thought maybe she was a little child that was in trouble for something at school. She was the parent that was like, I can't believe you did it. And she was the other parent that was like, God help me.
That's a good one. All right.
I like that interpretation.
Anything else?
She fell on her knee. All three was the same person. First she fell on her knee, then she got up and thought about, maybe I shouldn't have done this, and then she realized, this is what I don't do.
That's the closest.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so why don't you present your sculpture to us and tell us what your intent was?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. The one on the bottom is showing they made a mistake.
And then I was like, regression.
Taking it down. I learned from my mistake.
All right.
Retain this knowledge. For the next time.
What did it feel like to be the one on the bottom?
Same kid.
Normal.
Normal. You were comfortable there, huh?
Very
I was
comfortable.
All right, what did it feel like to be the one in the middle?
Because Sally was like, oh, I'm the shortest.
That's what
You're
we're-
medium. And meat is taller.
Mhm.
Do it that way. No, but well,
We all make mistakes. So we all are the person on the bottom.
Do we all think through our mistakes?
we like to think so sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah. We always have to look through and just reflect on everything. Why did that happen?
Anna, what was your experience at the top of the progression?
Oh, that felt good. But yay, I've learned from my experience. But usually, since I'm the tall one and everything, you know, in school and everything, I was always, well, you're the one that'll be on the top. I could never do the bottom.
Next time,
So,
just keep it in.
yeah, that's okay. But yeah, so I just put myself there because I was just thinking real quick, a totem pole
Mhm.
type of thing. But yeah, it felt good to be. And it does feel good when you actually learn from your own mistake and you put it into practice and it works again. And you just think, it feels how good it feels, and can I please, God, let me remember this,
Mhm.
to do this next time. Because there probably will be a next time.
Yeah. Well, very good. Thank you, guys. All right. Group the other group.
Ready?
Create a sculpture for us.
Do we have to get out of our chairs?
Yes. Well, you have to move. You can choose whether you sit or.
I'm moving this way.
Actually, like,
Well, like,
cheerleader stuff.
You ready?
Like this.
Mom, you're not supposed to move.
Eh.
it's just a little.
Did you get it?
All right.
Do it again.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So, what'd you see?
They're in school. He was texting in school. He got in trouble by the teacher, and the mom said, "Not again."
Okay.
I saw him play video games
I'm struggling with that.
Yeah.
in school, and the teachers writing him up, and the mom's not having it.
I saw Hector driving and texting while he was driving, and the police officer writing a ticket, and his wife throwing a fit. But that might just be my week.
You trying to tell us something? No.
I saw that you were the parent or the school teacher probably. You were directly trying to punish these two, and Hector, or, you know, scold them or something. You had a pen, writing them up or something like that. And Hector was avoidance, he was doing avoidance, with his twiddling of his thumb. And you were having anger over it.
You got the anger part right, you got the avoidance part right.
Avoidance.
But I was just a father trying to teach him something.
Oh, homework, like, okay.
Anything.
Okay.
When you're trying to teach a kid and they refuse to pay attention to you long enough to learn it, and the other parent's going, I can't believe you can't get this. Listen.
Okay.
So, what did it feel like to be you, Hector?
It was pretty bland. Just, and felt like
Why would your character choose to twiddle instead of to pay attention?
because they don't care, they don't want to pay attention, they want to do something else.
discussion.
So-
Our kids refuse to pay attention long enough to learn something. And that's why they keep making the same mistakes.
So, when you shut down as an adult, when we get to a place where we're like, I'm just gonna turn off for a while and not listen, what is it that makes you feel that way?
Frustration.
Yeah, frustration.
Is your character experiencing frustration possibly?
Yeah.
Maybe? Maybe it was overwhelming? What was it like to be the parent?
Normal.
Normal, okay. And what about your character in
I was frustrated.
You should be used to that.
I'm used to this is my life. You wanna pull your hairs out because you love your children so much, and you wanna guide them through the path, and then smack. I'm not gonna take you that way. I'm gonna go my way, and then come back and say, "Oh, mommy, this happened." No. So you get frustrated because it's not that you wanna live their life for them and tell them this is what you're going to be and this is how you're going to do it, because that's not it. But you try to tell them, you know what? Don't do that. Try and be yourself. Don't try to imitate anybody else. Don't try to let anybody force you to do anything that you shouldn't be. You know, have pride in yourself, respect in yourself. And it gets frustrating when they just look at you like, here she goes again. Blah, 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 blah.
Any other observations we want to share?
We're just trying to give our kids the best opportunity to be the best that they can be.
We don't
But they
want
don't
kids,
get-
we
they
don't want
don't
kids to
really
have to learn the hard
They don't
way.
write that either, and they just don't write that.
All parents want their kids to learn the easy way.
Well,
It doesn't ever seem to work out that way. They always want to learn things the hard way.
Some things.
have you ever learned anything the easy way?
No,
There's no fun in that.
never have.
I haven't learned very much
I mean,
the
if you
easy
talk
way.
about book learning, that was always easy to me.
Yeah.
But life learning, no.
I learned playing video games the easy way. You
That's
just
why you
sit
die,
down
you
and
start.
shut up and you'd be like, okay, this is how you do it.
And you put the cheats in there. Yeah. That,
You don't put cheese in it. Do you have cheese in it? I don't even know how to use a cheese.
All right, I'm going to pause that conversation. Maybe we'll come back to it. So the author of the book says that the trick of this is to keep the ball in the child's court. So he's like, you know, keep the ball in the child's court, right?
Like it's coming at me hard. Ooh.
This is too much of a workout. Yeah.
Now, if I keep a hold of it, and I tell you, we're gonna bat this ball around, and we're gonna bat it around, and you're gonna have a great time. It's so much fun to do it, right? You know. I mean, I love batting a ball around, right?
But you're not sharing.
Aren't we having a great time?
Yeah, and you're not keeping it in the kids' court.
Are you learning a lot now?
Yourself.
You're learning. You're learning a lot now, right?
when the kid tries to get it and you steal it. Whoop.
Yeah.
All right, now you didn't do that right, because the whole point of hitting the ball around is to share it with your friends. You gotta pass it around. Everybody needs a turn. Right? I mean, so
I'm gonna hit it.
kids have problems. They have a lot of problems.
Woo! No, you can get up and do it, right?
That's why I have you.
What are some problems that our kids have?
Peer pressure.
Fighting.
Study.
Concentrating.
Tough one.
potty training.
Sorry.
Oh, that wasn't
Listening.
very good.
Stay focused.
Sharing.
That's just
Yeah, sharing.
As if
Okay,
to demonstrate.
Learning.
Eh,
You didn't say?
Following directions.
Being respectful.
I lost my shoe.
Eating dinner.
loving themselves. Not through it.
Loving themselves is a big one, right? And that's a hard one for me to let my kids figure out on their own. So what we're going to experiment with tonight is talking about how to shift the problem that is legitimately our child's problem back to being their problem and not our problem. We're a resource for our kids. We're here to help them. But when we take ownership of their problem, it's like me batting this ball and telling them, you gotta learn how to, you just gotta catch it every time. And but, you're not actually playing with the balloon when I do that, right? So the idea is to shift the problem that's legitimately not ours back to our kids. So,
I agree with that. I really do. I mean, kids should learn on their own. Once you teach them, they don't get it, it's up to them to go back and figure out what they didn't want. It's
But
not
we can
up
be
to
there to
us.
guide them.
You can guide them, but you can't
But
handhold
they have to
them.
come and ask.
Guiding
for it.
them's one thing,
That's the other thing.
handholding them's another.
sometimes.
And having them come and ask for it doesn't work either, because that's what they're gonna do.
Research
They learn
shows
that
us that
fast.
kids who are the most responsible are kids who have had to make a lot of choices, a lot of decisions, and who bear the weight of the consequences of their behavior. So the author goes on and on about how the kids in this lower income neighborhood that he taught were much more responsible than the middle class kids, because those kids got themselves up with an alarm clock, got themselves dressed because their parents had already left for work, brought their lunch, took a bus to get there, took a city bus home, made sure their homework was done, because they were invested in doing things that, they had to do to continue succeeding. But in the upper middle class schools, he was finding that his students were,
Lazy.
yeah, they get to school, they didn't have half of what they needed, they called their parents would rush over and bring everything for them, and then halfway through the school day, they'd be calling their parents to change them out of this class or that class because they didn't like that teacher was mean, And so, it's not that we want to
We'll
not,
experience that very soon. Starts middle school.
AJ asked me once to get him out of the teacher's class.
didn't do it.
I didn't do it
No.
either.
You
I'm
know
like,
what happened is,
this is life.
if anybody would have called my mother and said, your son doesn't want to be here at school, she's gonna be like, tough. If they could get a hold of her. Because they probably wouldn't be able to get a hold of her because she's working. So, that's the way it was with me. I only had one parent when I was that age. And then when my dad come around, I just had my dad. Then my mom wasn't around. So, I knew if I didn't do what my dad told me, I would suffer the consequences of my dad. So, I never had that problem.
Well,
So when
every year, since he's been in multiple classrooms, well, not every year, but usually every year, there's a teacher he doesn't like. And I said, this is life. There's always gonna be somebody that you work with that you don't care for, but you gotta work with.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it's just, I said, you have to find, and I tell him, and he knows now, find something that you like and focus on that. There's got to be at least one thing about that person you like. Find it, focus on it.
Even the smartest man can learn from the dumbest animal.
That's right.
So what would be the criteria for a moment when you should step in even though it's really not your problem, it's your child's problem.
Feeling physical danger.
Yeah, physical danger.
Like any physical danger, or is there like a threshold, like,
I'm
If it's
sorry.
something that's gonna be life changing, if they smart after somebody and they get hit in the mouth, that's their problem,
okay.
you know, but yeah, if they're about to get run over by a car, I'm gonna be there. That kind of thing.
Mhm. What were you gonna say, Melanie?
Maybe I'm just a different kind of parent. But if I were to
It's
see
alright for us to have a variety
if
of
I were to
opinions.
see anyone put their hands on my kids, I don't know how I would react. I really don't. Stephanie has gotten into multiple things that have been her fault, and I have always been there. And I have always dealt with her repercussions, but I've always been the one to step up for her. And I believe that I would do the same thing for Juan and Anastasia. Because, yeah, I'll tell them off later, but I would never want them to get hit, because nowadays it's not just one person that's going to hit you, it's going to be multiple people. You are not going to have 5 people on my kid. No. I will beat an 11-year-old, but if I see 10 of them jumping on my kid.
We had a situation a couple years ago, I can't say that I handled it correctly, but that's good stuff. There was a boy in high school up in Tennessee that had committed suicide. He was gay, he had a lot of problems, a lot of bullying in high school. His little brother was a year older than AJ in the middle school. And they were going out to get on the bus after school, like the day after this boy came back to school. And AJ tripped. And he hit a girl. I mean, he just pushed her because he was tripping, and he pushed her. And pushed her into that boy, and the girl happened to be his girlfriend. And that boy turned around and punched AJ. So they get on the bus. AJ's just boiling. And all the ride home, he just gets madder and madder and madder. So by the time I get home, he's really mad. And he's like, tells me what happened. He's like, I'm going to school tomorrow, and I'm gonna punch him. And I said, all these years, when there's a fight, who's the one that gets in trouble? I says, never the one that starts it. You know, it's always the one that retaliates. I said, can you think of anything better to do? I said, I would suggest you go talk to your counselor. Because, you know, because he knows who that boy was, and we talked to him about that. You know, this boy's just been through a lot. He's still going through a lot. I said, and, you know, that was just probably primal reaction. You know, I said, but I suggest you go talk to your counselor. Do you want me to go talk to your counselor? He's like, oh, no. He's 7th grade. No, I don't want you to go into school. I'm like, then you need to go talk to your counselor. Well, he started calming down, and after a while, he thought about it, and he said, before he went to bed, he said, you know, is it okay if I go talk to Coach Carter? That's his baseball coach at the school. I said, that sounds like a great idea. He's like, I trust him. I said, okay, that's who you trust. When you get to school tomorrow, I'll even take you early, you go find Coach Carter and talk to him. And he's like, okay. Thank goodness I had Coach Carter's number in my phone. I'm texting Coach Carter all day. And I'm like, oh, what happened? Everybody okay? And he finally texted me at the end of the day. He said, at the end of the day, they were shaking hands. He says, I talked to AJ, I talked to the other boy, then I talked to them both together. Everybody was good. But, you know, when something happens, they're going to get mad.
Sure.
And he had every right to get mad. It wasn't the first time, you know, something had happened that he got mad about. I tried to guide him in a direction that I thought he should go.
This way they had.
I didn't want to go to the school because we've always tried to teach him to handle his own issues. But we'll help him. You know, we'll guide him. We'll give him input if you want it. And if he'd have said, yes, I want you to come to the school, I'd have gone to the school.
handled it the right way, because I would have said,
Well, I don't know that it was
you
right,
go to
but-
school tomorrow, you go straight to that person and you punch him back. Yes or no, Melanie?
Yeah.
That's just me. You don't.
Well-
I mean, and I know it's wrong, but that would have been my initial gut reaction.
Well, when he was in 6th grade, he had a girlfriend. She was a cute little thing, and his best friend made a comment to her in the lunchroom that was just really inappropriate about her chest.
Oh,
And even though it was his best friend, he came home, he was mad, he was gonna fight him the next day. And I said, well, the first thing you need to do is call your girlfriend, ask her how she feels about it. And see if she's talked to her mom about it. And so after they talked, then I talked to the mom, and the two kids talked again, they were okay. But she was like, I don't pay attention to him, you know, he's gonna keep, and this is it was one of AJ's best friends, but he was very, very mouthy.
Yeah.
And he would say things, he didn't know what he was saying. He'd hear a word and he'd say, oh, that sounds cool, and not know what it meant. But I said, you know, we always told AJ, Karma's gonna take care of it.
I like that
Karma
one.
will
You got
take
the,
care of it.
you had the coach to be the mediator with two angry boys.
Well, and that was his idea, so
Yeah.
it was his idea to go talk to the coach. It was the coach's idea to talk to both of them, and I thought he handled it very well. I was very proud of him.
See, in that situation.
I was
it's different,
brought up
but
the same way you were, but
I understand
given
how
the way that things are today, I would
I'm
rather see my
Yeah,
kids
and he does that a
have
lot.
a mediator.
And
Well,
Because now it's not hands and fists.
you know, so it's like
You
you need to
know,
just.
now they're carrying knives and guns. And it's real easy
He has
for a
anger issues.
teenager to get a hold of a knife or a gun and then go try to solve his problems that way. And then somebody's going to end up dead over a little pissing fight.
Well, when we were kids, you know, we had fights, they were with fists.
Exactly, exactly. And that's exactly what I tell my boys. It's like, look, you don't fight with anybody. Because now, even with me and her, we talked about it when I'm driving, I was real bad when we first got together. Somebody say something to me when I was driving, I was cussing at them, I was mad. I was one of those mad drivers. And she finally got through my head, look, guy might be carrying a gun that you're gonna go up to his window. Now, he might not ask questions, he might just shoot you, you know, and I'm like, that's true. That is true.
If you're coming to his window, you're a threat.
Exactly, exactly. In the eyes of the law,
Right.
you're absolutely right.
So the author proposes that if we're going to intervene in our kid's life, there are certain criteria that should be met. The kids should be in imminent danger, life-threatening danger. Something that will change the course of their lives is something that justifies us intervening on their behalf. So whether that's, loss of limb, I tend to read that in hearing, if my kid's gonna scrape their knee and have a black eye, they'll recover.
Yeah, but that's what we talked about.
But-
Today, you don't know what's gonna be imminent danger and what's not.
Well,
Kids
yeah,
do
in
some
conflict
really
with kids.
crazy things without thinking. It's like they have no morals. They're not raised with morals. And, for them to shoot somebody is just like as simple as them shooting a BB gun or something.
or to them, that is their moral.
Yeah,
They were taught
exactly.
that way.
Yeah, maybe they were taught that way.
Take
you
your
know.
eye out.
Don't let anybody hurt you, you hurt them first, that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. And that really worries me.
It's scary.
Well, and it creates tension for us because we don't want to raise our kids without morals. I think I can say that for all of us.
No,
We
but we
want our
want them
kids
to be
to-
able to stand up for themselves too, and stand by their morals and things like that. But,
And we want them to have a sense of being able to handle their own problems and not having us step in and manage their problems for them. The author says that whenever you solve a problem for your child, the message that you convey to the child is, you can't handle this problem. So there's a risk there because, if we decide, we're gonna rescue.
The old term, cut the apron strings.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't wear aprons. Well, no,
Some men do. But
But, yeah.
the idea that, you know, if I rush to school every time somebody forgets their lunchbox, I'm teaching them that they can't handle, I mean, first of all, none of my kids are gonna starve to death in 4 hours, you know. They might be uncomfortable, but they're not gonna die. You know, and this is one that I do. I mean, like, I've been known to bring lunches to schools, but, or in situations where they're in conflict. There's a story in the book where the mother's watching out of the window and her 4-year-old punches another kid in the nose. And she's horrified, but the kid comes in and she says to him, I saw what happened. Do you approve of your behavior? And she puts back on him. Instead of, you know, what I would do would be, you know, how dare you do that? You march right over there and apologize. You know, she, you know, do you approve of that? And, you know, that opened up the conversation. And, you know, the kid, of course, didn't approve of that behavior, but had a story that, you know, they wanted to tell. And then she said, you know, do you think there was a way to handle it better? And, you know, so they explored that. Well, then the mother of the other kid comes over, and she's irate. And the mother says, yeah, I can understand why you would feel that way. I'm not gonna handle this, though. I'm gonna go get Jimmy, and you can talk to Jimmy and explain to him what you're feeling about this. And so she plops her kid in front of this irate mom and lets her explain to him just how angry she is about it. And I thought that was a particularly strange solution, you know, but an interesting
But it's the
solution.
consequences.
It's the consequences, yeah. You did something, you need to own it. You know, the consequences, you have made
But the
somebody
kid
angry.
shouldn't have been facing the consequences of the other person's parents.
Well,
The consequences of the other kid, that's one thing. The consequences from the other kid's parents, that's another thing.
Well,
But-
shouldn't they know how everyone else feels? Like,
Yeah.
if I'm mad that someone hit my kid,
Well, obviously,
of course I'm gonna talk to
the
the
parent is
first.
gonna get mad, obviously. Nobody wants to have their kid hit by another
Yeah.
kid or see their kid hit another kid.
I mean, I think the
But-
assumption is that this is a safe
For
person.
the parents to discuss it with each other and say, okay, now we need to talk to our kids and find out what happened, and then they discuss amongst themselves and say, okay, this is what happened, and this is what he told me, and this is what he told you, and then get the kids together and let them resolve it.
See, like me and my best friend do that. Our kids are the same age. They fight like brother and sister because they have been in each other's lives since birth to now. And
And if
you guys
Juan
have
hit
met
Olivia,
Brittany. Aaliyah.
it was a good try.
Yeah. If Juan hits Aaliyah, then Brittany goes up to him. Why did you do that? I don't even step in. It's why did you do that? Why did you feel that you needed to do that? Do you think that's nice? Was that nice of you to do? No. Then why did you do it? And then he'll think about it like, oh, and then he'll be like, I didn't want to. And why? And then we separate them for about 10 minutes so they could both cool down. And it's the same the opposite way. If she were to hit him, I go up to her. Why did you do that? Did you think that was nice to do? Why can't you guys play nicely together? And then again, we separate them. And but that's how we do it because they need to know that it's not just affecting the kid; it's affecting everyone
Mhm.
around them.
Well, and what was positive about this was, you know, if a parent says to a child, you know, if somebody else's parent says to my child, I felt so angry and so distressed and so, you know, upset about what you did when you hit my kid. I mean, I imagine that would have more emotional impact with my kid than me being, you know,
It does.
fussy about it because they've seen that before.
It does with them because Juan sees me angry, and he'll be like, oh.
so the one, yeah, again.
She'll get over it. She's probably in that time of the month. That's how he'll probably think. But if Brittany goes up to him and she's like, I'm angry with you. You shouldn't have done this. Imagine how Leah feels. And then would you like it if she did that to you? And how do you think your mom would feel about that? And that's how we speak to them. And so far, it works. So they they still have the sibling fights, but it's not physical anymore. They yell at each other, but it's not anything physical anymore. So they learned from it.
AJ will tell you, I never take his side.
I've heard that.
Because whenever he's gotten an altercation with somebody and comes in crying, whatever, telling me all about how bad somebody is, I'm like, and what's the other side of the story? I've always done that tip, because there's always two sides.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, and you're not always gonna get it.
Yep.
I said, well, I'll find out what the other side of the story is. And then he'll come out with more. You know, like, well, then, you know, but it's like, it's always their fault, and it's always, you know, they're the bad guy, he's an angel. And then, you know, it's like, well, what's the other side? I said, or I'll say, well, you had to do, what did you do to deserve it? And he's like, you never take my side. I said, it's not that I'm not taking your side, I want the whole story before I determine whose side I'll take.
So the author says that there are 2 rules. And the first rule is that adults must set firm and loving limits using enforceable statements without showing anger, lecturing, or using threats.
Oh, God.
Alright, so like I have problems as soon as we start that, you know, firm, loving limits with using enforceable statements. I'm always making threats that are like, you know, I can't possibly do that. I'm not going to come down out of the pulpit and whack you upside the head, you know, or I'm not
You
gonna.
would only have to do it once.
I'd probably get away with it too, wouldn't I? But
We
That's
are
called
nothing.
attention getters.
yeah.
Once you get their
What-
attention, then they tend to want, they listen to what you say.
Well,
You
the
don't
trick
get
is
your
to not make
attention.
threats that you won't follow through with, right?
Right.
Because
Empty threats.
Now, punishment, that's another thing. You tell them, this is what's gonna happen if you do this, and then they do it, you have to follow through with it.
Well, before we go down that road, the author suggests offering a child 2 choices whenever optional. So, 2 acceptable choices. And did you read through this part a little bit? It's in the
Yes.
Yes, what was it, two rules?
Yeah, and then there's actually before that there's the offer 2 choices. So let's say Rachel marches in here and is, you know, being disruptive because, you know, this is sacred space and we don't need, you know, middle school ears right now. The author would suggest that we offer her 2 options, you know, that we can live with. So what might 2 options that we can live with be for Rachel?
A, you go back in the other room, or B, you go wash all the cars.
Both of those work for me. You can either go wash all our cars, or you can go back with the kids. Either way, I win, right?
I love those win-wins.
Yeah, I could say to her, you can go read a book quietly in my office, or you can go dust the baseboards. I love both those options, you know? But you can see how giving her 2 choices, neither one of those are going to drive me crazy, offend me, or perpetuate the behavior I don't want, which is her in this room. So let's practice a little bit and try on some of those. I've got a couple scenarios. Let me see. I'm going to give you each a sheet, and if you will, where did they go? They're right there. And we'll talk through them together, but you can make notes for yourself as you're thinking through it. So the first one is kind of geared towards a younger child, although I experience this with middle schoolers all the darn time. Get some pens. Do you guys need pens?
Not right, my finger.
Oh, good for you.
About 30.
Invisible writing.
Yeah, one phrase AJ used to say, there's a little, and I still do, but not like say, I don't care. You just say it doesn't matter.
All right, so child's throwing a fit in the store over an item you have refused to buy them. Now you've already refused to buy the item, so for whatever reason that's not an option. Let's say it's a lawnmower, a $2,000 lawnmower. And you're not buying a lawnmower because they want that lawnmower.
So we're not buying it because it's an overly expensive item? Or,
Just because you don't want them to have it.
Well, you could, whatever the reason is, you can't buy it. You
Can't afford it.
don't think it's something they want or need. It's not your intent to spend your money that way right now. They have not been respectful in the way they asked for it. Whatever it is, you know. But the bottom line is you've already said no. And so we're gonna assume that we're letting our no be no. So what are two options for their behavior at that point that you can offer them? And I would say this is not a case where you can come back and buy it with your own money when you have $2,000, probably doesn't work. It's, you know, the object is not coming home with you, whatever it is, for whatever your reason is. And right for your age kid, okay?
Now, these are like consequences for it if they don't behave themselves. So behaving themselves isn't a choice, right?
I need something more specific. Two things that they can do that are socially acceptable and that are acceptable to you, that are fine choices, but move them away from that object and throwing a fit in the middle of the store.
Okay.
We're just doing one number one.
Yeah, just do number one. But we can go through them all and let's just do number one. That way we can refine it as we get to the next one. Okay, anybody ready to share?
I did mine for an item that's too expensive because we go through this a lot with wine. And it's always either we can buy you a smaller toy that you can afford right now that you know you can play with still, or you can get it for your birthday. That's how we always do it. It's either for birthday or Christmas.
Okay. So you've given two acceptable options. We can buy this little toy, or we can,
Usually he just says that he wants it for his birthday or for Christmas.
if you
He
buy
only
the
wants a
little
smaller
toy, are you really not going to buy it for him his birthday or Christmas?
No, we usually, no,
You do.
we give it to him. If, it's that we really can't afford it at that time, that or he's behaved so well.
Okay, so you really
Yeah.
only have one
Getting it.
option then. Cause he's gonna go for the smaller toy and get the bigger toy later for his birthday, right?
You believe it or not, he really doesn't go for the smaller toy. It's
Alright.
once in a while that he does, but we really have to be in that aisle for him to be like, I want it.
Next.
We're gonna go get ice cream.
Always
Because
good.
I like ice cream.
Yes. Everybody.
Okay, so you can go get ice cream.
Or we could watch the movie of your choice after dinner.
Okay.
Either way, that's a win-win for two.
That's a win-win for
And
the
you
parent
too.
too, yeah.
Well, not necessarily.
I like watching movies, cause I know what AJ's favorite movie is, and it's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. And those kid shows are great too,
What's his
right?
favorite movie?
Little Big League.
Oh.
I was banking
yeah.
on Blindside.
He likes that. We watched it last week.
All right, that almost sounds like a bribe.
It does sound like a bribe.
So how do you,
Oh,
it's okay, it's all right. How do you feel about that?
I'm good with it.
You like ice cream? and
I
you
like ice
movies.
cream and I like movies, so.
Well, what if you said, okay, if you don't behave yourself, then when we leave the store, if we stop and get ice cream, you don't get any.
Well, if he, as long as he starts acting right and gets rid of the fit, then we can do one of the two. If he doesn't, then we don't get either.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that's
it's really,
what
we can have ice
reward.
cream or a movie, or we can not have ice cream or a movie.
Or just go.
See, mine was, I was thinking about my kids and their age, and so at their age, for Benjamin and Rachel, I could say, well, you can come with me while I go to the food court, or you can go wait in the car.
Well,
At 13, they can wait in the car for 10
my
minutes.
first reaction to this being at AJ's age, it'd be like, I need to get you some calcium. Go with it in this store, because I'm not gonna buy you something.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
that's totally
At that age.
No, I mean,
This
it's
is
the
more of a
jeans, it's
younger
the,
child's problem.
He just,
and that
he
they
does
throw
it-
fits with more words when they're
he just-
teenagers.
he just does.
Okay. Who else has something they
I
want?
went back to when Melanie was little. And the two options I always gave her were that, you know, I don't have the money, but I promise you that either for your birthday or Christmas, you will have it. Or, if you calm down and you don't cry, I will take you to McDonald's. And Donald's was her favorite. So she would not make a peep. She would stay quietly through the whole store, and there would be no problems. Because she knew that the promise was gonna be kept. So I guess I bribed her this year.
Yeah, like behavioralism.
This is a really good exercise because we're going through literally everything that's on here.
Thank you. Okay, so Anna, did you want to share?
Oh, mine was Cliff. He sometimes, we'll just go in grocery shopping, he'll throw a fit, you'll see some stupid little thing that I think, like a little sandwich keeper that's shaped like Elmo or something.
Yeah, that'd do it.
For $3.99, the ones you can get at the Dollar Tree. And I'll look at him and he'll go, I can get that at the Dollar Tree, can't I, for 99 cents? Because he already knows.
Right. Then I know.
But yeah, he's not so bad about it now because I've taught him, I'm kind of teaching him the budgeting, you know, in a way that you can get things cheaper other places. But he always sees some magazine or something like that or something that, and I can't, you know, I tell him to, you better be quiet now or I'm going to leave the store right now, we're going to drive home. And I'll tell him, you know, you'll have to do something like, the other day I told him, you'll sit down and learn cursive the rest of the day. Do you want to learn cursive the rest of the day? No. I said, then are you going to straighten up? Yep. And, yeah. And I've never had to drive all the way home because I'd have to do that, and that would not be good.
Now, I have taken a screaming child out of the grocery store and left a whole cart of groceries in the middle of the aisle because I had a kid who wouldn't stop it. That's a pain in the butt. I
Oh, yeah.
don't make that thread anymore because that, you know, I mean, I don't
It
have
is
to
a
make that.
pain in the butt.
You gotta
But
put that cursive writing
it
in.
only takes once for you to actually follow through with it, and the kid won't do it again.
Mhm.
See,
That's what I was talking about following
you don't
through.
do this, we'll take things away. It's not what we'll give him, it's what we'll take away. You wanna continue having a fit in the store, we're not gonna stop grocery shopping, we need food in the house. But when you get home, you're not gonna play with anything. Your toys will be taken away. And your TV privileges will be taken away, because he does have his own TV in his room. He does have a DVD player that he knows how to work on his own. He knows where his DVDs are. He'll pick out his movies, and he'll bring them to his room. He knows how to work everything.
Okay, so this is an issue of nuance then, because what you're really saying is, do you want to go home and watch videos? Or do you want to go home and have quiet time? And then if the fit continues, the answer is, you're showing me you want to go home and have quiet time. That's your answer. And then you go home and you take the VCR out of the,
Yeah.
you know. about pushing that choice, you know, away from yourself and giving them the power to make that choice. So it's, you know,
But making what you want them to do the best choice for them. I mean, because they're going to choose to behave rather than
Yeah, most
not
of the
get to
time,
do something.
most of the time he'll quit. Or if he wants something that's in the cart, like it's gummies, something that's unhealthy, something that's a snack that, you know, he really doesn't need. Do you want your gummies? Stop. Stop having a fit, and we'll continue getting them. If you keep having a fit, we're putting the gummies back. Or we'll put the lollipop back. We'll put, you know,
well, the
juice
trick
box
is
that
to
you
not
have back.
make the second choice continuing to misbehave. So, do you want your gummies, or do you want, this is hard. My brain can do this.
Gum
My
and
brain can do
vacuum all
this.
the floors.
Well, all right. So let's say Cliff sees a Elmo Cheerio dispenser and wants it, and begins to throw a fit. And you can say, "Do you want to walk with me through the aisles, or do you want to ride on the end of the cart?" I don't know if you do that with your kids. I do that with my kids. You know, and that removes it from being a situation. It's not really about behavior. It's giving two acceptable behaviors. You know, oh, all right, you don't want to ride on the end of the cart. Do we need to have some quiet time, or do you want to walk with me nicely through the, you need quiet time. Okay, we can do quiet time. All right, so we'll talk about that more in a minute, because he talks about a particular technique he calls the uh-oh song. But before we do that, all right, so your child refuses to eat dinner. I'm sorry, did I miss you? What did you want to share?
Oh, I just put down, you take a privilege away at home, or you threaten to call the security guard.
All right.
That's good. Scared straight.
I don't know if I would call the security. My kids wouldn't believe I would do
obviously, I
that.
would not call the security guard on my kid, but I would threaten to.
Okay, so you're at home and your kid has looked at whatever you served for dinner and decided that it looks disgusting. In my house, that's usually actually true. It does look disgusting. Make two acceptable offers to them. Two offers that are acceptable to you of ways that they can behave. Not things you're going to give them, not things you're going to do for them, but ways that they could behave during dinner. So, in my house, there's always a fruit that's an option. If you don't want to eat, you can go to the fruit bin and grab a piece of fruit. But that's not really what we're talking about.
So you're not talking about consequences if they don't eat for dinner.
Not exactly, no. Okay, good, got ideas? I'm sorry to push this along, but I got like 3 more things I wanna get us to, so I
Yeah.
wanna make sure that we get there.
Yeah, like it's a sit-down dinner is what I'm thinking, so, and they don't wanna eat anything, but I want them to stay there because it's a sit-down dinner and they need to be present, not going off and playing video games. I'd say, well, if you don't wanna eat, just sit here. And, I just thought entertain us with something. You can sing to us or something. Or you can do flashcards, multiplication flashcards.
Oh, nice, good. Okay. Next.
I said, sit and talk with us while we eat, and they can go clean their room.
Very nice. Very, very nice. I know exactly what my kids would choose.
Me too.
what I make or make it just, or make yourself something else.
Good.
Because I'm not making a second serving of anything.
Usually what I make for dinner,
It's delicious.
he eats. Well, that's the thing. I make it to where my picky eaters eat it. So I cater to their needs. So I know he's gonna eat it. So I put down, we can have TV time while we eat, or we can read Pizza Cat books while we eat. And I don't know if I'm going in the right direction, but
If those both work for you, they're
he
fun.
eats them.
Okay, I had, we used to have a thing about take a no thank you bite, because, you know, our kids would reject food on appearance only, and so, you know, you had to take like a good sized bite to know that you really don't like it before you don't eat it. So mine was, you can take a no thank you bite, or you can help me cook dinner tomorrow and wash the dishes.
I like that no thank you bite, because if ever Mick and Cliff take that bite, then they'll go, it's pretty darn good. You know, then they
It's just getting them to
take that bite, right? No thank you bite. I like that.
Yeah, what you?
I put, you can go to bed hungry, or you can eat a little bit and then see how you feel about it. Because I have some in bed hungry. You refuse to eat it, like Mick, he'll be in there playing his video games or something in his room. He's got a bad habit of that. He's sitting in his brother's room, the bed, his brother's bed, and he's sitting there playing video games. He sets his plate down on the bed, and all of a sudden, bam, it's time to go brush teeth, take a bath, whatever, get ready for bed. And he's like, but I haven't eaten anything. Should have ate. You're out of time now.
Yes, so it.
Guess you'll eat your breakfast in the morning.
Yep.
Okay.
We did that once. He threw up in the morning. His stomach was selecting. Never again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if they have stomach problems and you have to watch out, you know, it's different.
Well, yeah, but Mick doesn't have the stomach problems. Cliff, I would never send him to bed.
I'd be like,
He would be
see
up
what
in the middle
happens
of
when
the
you don't
night,
eat
just,
dinner?
That's what I told him.
You never go to bed.
I got yelled at for telling him that.
Next time you eat dinner, watch him, as you're throwing up in the bathroom.
All right, I think it's Hector's turn.
If I, that, if he doesn't eat it within a certain amount of time, then he'll get no snacks, so he'll have to drink water instead of the juice or something. But if he does eat it within that amount of time, then you can watch TV or something. I don't know if that's.
You didn't say we need to tell mommy to fix the right foods.
I'm gonna move into your house. Okay, good. All right, so next one, let's just do this one together instead of taking the time to write it down. Your child has made a mess in the living room. Give 2 acceptable options to deal with this issue.
Clean it up.
Yeah.
You can clean it up
You
with.
can clean it up,
Or clean
or
it off.
you can clean it up and clean the rest of the house.
Okay, does that fly?
We've got.
That you can clean it up, put all your stuff away where you like it, or I will help you clean it up, and each piece I pick up goes in the bin to give away to the people who don't have toys.
Oh, that's
We say
it.
trash.
Yeah.
It
Our
never goes,
bin to
it
go
never
is-
goes in
it's
the
a
trash. It never goes in the trash.
No.
But he does end up cleaning it.
Yeah,
Because
he's
we
actually.
did scare him one time.
Yeah.
We did get a garbage bag, and as fast as we were picking up the toys, he was picking them up faster, and he put them in his room. And we hid the trash bag. And I'm like, oh, it was a monster truck. That was your favorite monster truck, wasn't it? Yeah. What are we gonna do next time? And then at the end of the night, you know, he made the mess again. He cleaned up his room without us having to ask him twice. He gave him back his toys and we're like, put these back in the bin. And that's how it goes. So
Ever since then, he's good at cleaning.
he's good.
the room.
He's really good.
Now, if he makes a mess somewhere else, he'll clean it up if we call him.
Because he thinks
Yeah, then
In
it
the
comes the
trash.
next day and tells you, my toys.
Will you buy me another
monster truck?
He knows where his bread's buttered.
One of our
Oh,
boys
yeah.
is pretty good. He's keeps everything pretty neat. The other one, he's like a little pack rat. He's not happy unless it's a mess. And one particular place that he loves to make a mess is on the kitchen counter. And he just piles stuff, and piles stuff. And the last couple times, I've been the one to clean it. I reorganize everything, put it back where it should go, a couple days later it's back out. So I'm trying something with him now. I already gave him a warning today that the next time I clean that counter, everything that's on that counter is going to the trash. And it will happen. That's all there is to it. Because he's gotten to the point where he knows if he makes a mess, somebody's going to clean it up for him. Somebody's going to put his stuff away for him. Somebody's going to do it for him. And I've got to break that cycle.
Sure, and so it's reasonable to say, on Friday, this counter will be clean. Either you will do it, or I will do it, and when I do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, so we're gonna talk about, the second rule I didn't ever tell you was, when a child causes a problem, the adult shows empathy through sadness and sorrow, and then lovingly hands the problem and the consequences back to the child. So, one way to do that is this technique they use called the uh-oh song. This is really geared towards younger kids. I don't think AJ's going to respond well to this.
You never know, he might.
But he might. So the first step is you notice your child is not responding the way you want them to, right? And so he instructs us to sing out, uh-oh, looks like it's bedroom time. And then quickly and gently move the child to their bedroom. At that time, the child cannot be with the family. So it's, it's quiet time. And then step 2 is saying, feel free to have a nice little fit. We'll see you when you're ready to be sweet. Incidentally, this sing-songy voice drives Rachel nuts. She hates it when I do this. Oh, I'm so evil. You have no idea how evil I am.
But you have, with our boys, you have to put a consequence in there when you put them in time off, because if you don't, they tend to throw it in the room.
Well, we'll get there.
Ways.
All right, so you keep your voice sing-songy, don't sound angry or frustrated or sarcastic. And the step 3 is to offer choices about how the child will stay in the room. Do you want to stay in the room with the door open or shut? If the child comes out, you go, oh, you wanted to stay in the room with the door shut, and you shut the door. Or, you want to stay in the room. I don't know how you deal with the throwing items. Do you want to stay in the room? In your room or in the bathroom?
Put them in the cat habitat out
Yeah,
there.
there you go.
It's
The only way I've been able to keep
Do you want to stay in
I
your
haven't
room?
done that yet, but that sounds like a good idea.
is I've learned that when I have to put him in timeout, I make it a contingency that I know where everything is in this room. If you destroy, mutilate, or harm anything in this room, yourself included, then there's going to be consequences. And that's all I got to say to him. I don't have to give him the specific consequences, but he knows that if he doesn't behave when he's in there, then he's going to get in more trouble. So he's actually, not only he'll go in there, and usually within about 5 minutes he'll go to sleep.
Alright. Well, the author's recommendation is that the child has to stay in their room until they're calm. And during that time, you're not supposed to talk to the child. You're not supposed to give them any feedback, any stimulus, any attention. If they come out, it's, uh-oh, you've decided to be in your room with the door shut. Shut the door, you can hang out there, but make it sound like you're having fun, so turn the TV on. But, they need to stay in that room and be quiet. And then once they've done that, you set the egg timer for 4 to 5 minutes. Really, I can't see you doing this with AJ, but maybe.
No, this is where I failed with AJ. Because
Alright,
I
so-
can't stand it when he's mad.
What's the
So
worst
I
that's
would
gonna happen?
never, if I sent him to his room, I was in there in 5 minutes, trying to talk to him, because I just could never stand it for him to be upset.
I don't know, nowadays I'm like, yeah, they're mad
I
at me
did
again.
that when they were young.
Well,
we'd rush
It's
in
the
there,
only
you know, what's
child and-
wrong, what upset you, what's going on. Now that they've gotten older, I don't care what upset you.
Well, I still care, so, and I still
I mean,
do it.
yeah, afterwards, after they've calmed down and you calm yourself down, then, you know, then I'll go talk to them and find out what was it upset and how we can avoid this problem from happening again. But I don't just rush in there and say, hey, what's wrong, what's wrong?
Okay, so here's where, all right, so the child's been in their room until they're calm. And for some kids, that can be 2 minutes, and for other kids, that can be 20 minutes, right? We know, like, some kids have stamina. And then you set the egg timer for 5 minutes. That's a, you know, usually they say timeout should be the length of however many years they are old plus 1. So, whatever that is, that means I put Hal in timeout for 47 minutes.
It's for however long it takes me to calm down.
Right. And then once a child's been calm for that time, they can return to family. The author says you don't need to talk them through it then, because they've already had the consequence and the negative experience. And if they're ready to re-enter into good behavior, allow that. I thought that was really interesting. How do you feel about that?
We always ask them, do you understand what it is that you're talking about? Because the way we read up on it was, because I read up on a couple of different parenting things that, you know, to get away from spanking, because I did start off with spanking and it didn't work, and I didn't like it either. I would end up crying and saying, I can't believe I did that, I'm a terrible mom. So it led to timeouts and how we're supposed to react to them, because I'm a big yeller. So it'd be, I'd have to go and take a timeout,
Sure.
calm down, come back. Why did you do this? Why do you think you did this? How do you feel about this? This is why you're in timeout. We leave you in timeout. You come back out. Why do you think you're in timeout? And we reassess everything. And then you'd explain to us why he was in timeout, what he did, why he did it, how he thought we felt, and how he feels. And then it'd be, are you ready to be back out? Yes. Are you ready to behave? Yes. Okay.
And if that works for you, great. I think their point is that they want the child to internalize all that conversation and for it really to be about the child choosing good behavior on their own without us saying, you know, I need to monitor what your behavior is. You know, the child can do that. Is the mindset that they're taking. Now, you know, you can hash that out in your house the way you need to.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. I think the kid needs to understand why they got put in timeout, so they know that that's not acceptable behavior for that reason. Otherwise, they're just like, I don't know what I did. You got mad, put me in my room.
Okay. So the next technique that he offers us is called going brain dead. And this is really about teenagers, I think. Going brain dead. All right, so let's say you have a child who wants to argue with you. The goal of, at that point, is to diffuse the argument, right? Because you don't want to be in a position where you're arguing with your kid. And so what he recommends is to go brain dead. And there are 3 responses that are allowed. I wrote them for you on the bottom of your sheets there. I know, nice try, and I love you too much to argue about this. So, let's say your daughter goes to the beach with you yesterday, and on the way home from the beach yesterday, someone offers her a free kitten. And let's say that she decides that the only thing she wants in the whole world is a free kitten. And you cannot accept a free kitten because of your lease. You will lose your lease if they catch a kitten in your house. Okay? So, would anyone like to volunteer to be my daughter for a minute?
I would gladly love to. I love kittens.
You love kittens? Okay, so you're going to ask me for a kitten, and then I'm going to use these 3 phrases as best I can to see if I can diffuse our argument, okay?
All right.
All right,
I've been practicing a lot.
excellent.
Mommy, somebody came up to me and said that we can have a free kitten. Can we have her?
Nice try.
Why? Why can't we have her?
I love you too much to argue about this.
But we can love the kitten too. We can love her and name her Cuddles, and she'll be amazing.
I know.
So let's get her.
Nice try. I'm the meanest mother in the world, aren't I? I know. All right, can you think of another example of a situation where you would have an argument like this?
That's actually really good. I'm gonna try that one. For both of you. Borrowing the car, that kind of thing.
For a teenager?
That comes up a
Yeah,
lot. doesn't
can you
it?
come up with a situation, Sally, where you might?
Can I?
Hypothetical.
AJ has argued with me his entire life. If I tell him something, he's gonna argue. So when AJ starts arguing with me, all I have to say to him is the sky's blue. Because he argues just for the sake of arguing. So when I say the sky's blue, he goes, well, there's some white in it. So at that point, he knows I'm done. I'm not arguing with him anymore. I know he's just arguing to be arguing, just exercising his vocal cords.
Let's go on brain dead,
Yeah, I just say sky's blue.
Nick's not so much arguing, he just wants to talk.
He's talking.
Anything. But, I mean, he just wants, like, he gets up in the morning, wants to tell you what he dreamt about, everything about it. And just go on and on and on and on. He's got a really high-pitched voice. And you don't want to be hearing that before you have coffee in the morning. But you do, you hear it every morning. So he just tailgates me around like the puppies. And then when he stops talking, oh, go ahead, keep talking, I'm listening to you.
Mine is, but why?
I don't have.
Even though I didn't hear a word he said.
go.
But you're so mean.
I don't go anywhere.
I
I'm
know.
always stuck here. But you're so mean. That is stuff.
That is Stephanie.
I know.
Mine was the cat. But why? Why can't we have her?
You want the cat to die outside on the street with no home? Do you not understand?
That's
the
exactly
cat-
what Rachel said to me yesterday.
Do you not understand that the cat is going to starve?
And I would sneak it in anyways. It'd be in my room, but I bought everything and told, they would eventually.
Let's not tell Rachel this story.
We've got a whole bunch of stray cats
Yeah, I
around
have
my
one that
neighborhood.
would bring them in, and the other one would be, but why?
Feral
But I can't go.
Yeah.
But why is something you can use on your kids. They say that if you want to end conflict, one way to do it is to ask why 5 times.
Yes.
So let's say your kid is, I don't know, help me come up with a situation where your kid would be,
Wants to go to a friend's house every single day, not doing it.
but why? And then, because we're just best friends in the whole world. Why are you best friends? Well, because, but why does her approval matter so much to you? And
Try to get them.
nobody's gonna like me if you don't.
Argue themselves
Why
out.
would they not like you? Why are you afraid of them not liking you?
I'm gonna try that one.
So, a little technique for your pocket. So, what do you guys think? I mean, the author says that the problems of our children are not our problems.
I think kids make you old young.
They're not our problems, they're their problems. And it really only becomes our problem when it affects us. So, your feelings are hurt, your ability to function is, they're making you late places, they're messing up common spaces in the home, they make you feel unsafe.
Make you feel afraid because they put themselves in a position of they're unsafe. Yes.
Okay, so we're going to end with an activity. We have 5 minutes to do it. This is called hypnotizing. So I need you to find a partner, preferably one you are not in a romantic relationship with.
I'm
And
not in a romantic relationship with you.
yeah. want you to find a spot in the room. We'll move the chairs out of the way and face each other. All right?
Okay.
Find
Oh,
person.
where did this gonna be a problem?
Person.
And you take each other.
There you go, you guys stick together.
We sit or we stand?
Right.
Stand
Take
facing
hands.
each other.
Where's the beer?
All right. Now, I'd like you to decide between you. One of you is going to be the hypnotizer, and one of you is going to be the hypnotizee. You're going to need both feet on the floor.
And what do you do?
You might
fall
over.
Now, the hypnotizer is going to put their hand about 1.5 inches away from the nose of the hypnotizee.
I got it.
All right, now, hypnotizees, it is your job to keep your nose in the same relationship to that person's hand, okay?
Okay.
So however they may move it, your nose needs to stay in that same relationship, okay? Now, hypnotizers, feel free to move your hands around the room, around up and down.
No.
And see if you can make them
You had to
follow
run it.
you.
Go backwards.
Incidentally, when I do this with the teenagers, they end up crawling on the floor.
Oh, we're not gonna crawl on the floor, we're older.
That's all
No,
right.
but just making me go down anyway.
This is too much exercise.
Oh, man, Anna.
Okay, so.
Anna has a future instruction.
Oh, that's not nice.
All right, now switch roles.
Uh-oh. Alright, trouble.
Alright, let's see.
Well, you know I'm not that tall. I'm gonna hurt myself.
Oh, we're gonna do this again, aren't we? Ah. 3 was fine. 3 was lying too. I went down again with the taser. Alright, let's walk back over this way. Alright.
Oh my God.
I'm hypnotizing you.
Okay, all right, stop and grab a seat.
That was good.
I like that.
What was we supposed to be hypnotizing them for?
Oh, my face hurts more.
Like being the greeter.
What was that experience like?
It was fun.
It was fun.
And then it was torture when she decided to make us, you know,
Have to do
exercise.
squats.
It was wondering what the person was going to do next.
Mm.
You know, he's going to go real high, and then that was all for the next house. What am I going to do down?
It helped me focus. I couldn't see anything past the hand, you know, and it was amazing. It was like, after a while, I didn't really even know what I was doing.
Mm.
Then
You
you
know, we're-
hypnotized. You can be
It was,
hypnotized.
yeah, kind of a really intense, you know, focusing on the other person.
Yeah, you don't really care what your body's doing. You're just concentrating on that hand. The problem, is that what it is?
Is that what it is? Tell me more about what you're thinking.
I was thinking, is that, it's because the problem's right in front of you?
Is that what it
Something like
is?
that.
Talk to the hand thing?
Yeah, you don't see anything out, or you don't feel.
Okay, so it could be a metaphor for the way a problem gets in front of us and we just focus on that and track that and we don't see the whole picture.
Yeah, I was thinking something like that.
It could be just blocking the kid's sight out. They can't see you, they know they can't get through you. I can't see you. so
And if you did that,
you're
if
saying
there was a
to
problem, then
me.
they might start laughing and forget about the problem, maybe.
That might be one of the options. We'll play hypnotizing instead of,
Yeah, here's
you
what
know,
you gotta
throwing
do.
your fit.
Our kids would do that.
They might, yeah.
They would. They'd start
Yeah.
laughing and giggling about it.
I think one was
Mhm.
hearing you.
Well, if you know, in different points in our relationships, we are called to be responsive, and in other points, we're called to be the leader. And so, either way, it requires a lot of focus on the other person. When you're called to be responsive to your child, it requires you to be really aware of what they're doing, right? And you're trying to anticipate, you know, where they're going to go next, because are you going to have to do another squat? And, you know, those squats are starting to hurt, or is it something, you know, different, like, I'm just tired, and, you know, but following their lead sometimes on what's the next thing they need in our relationship can be a challenge. And at other times, you know, it's really about being on the other side of it and being the, you know, the one who's, you know, sometimes we're the leader and sometimes we're the follower. Does that make sense to you? And both are important parts of being the parent, because you have to be aware of where your kids are and what their needs are, and you have to be, you know, willing to show them where they need to go. So, and to be
That's one thing I
the
tell
model.
my boys is, I can't wait for the day when you start teaching me something. That's what I want you to be able to do. When you get to the point where you can start teaching me, I'll be happy.
I think they're teaching us a lot.
Well, I mean, they do as far as, I mean, you relive your childhood to your child. You do. Everything that you did in your childhood, you're going to go back to it with your kid. And that's your guideline. It's what you went through and how it made you feel. But when they get to be an adult, that's what I'm talking about.
Very good. All right, well, does anybody have anything special they want to hold in prayer as we close tonight?
I can tell you one secret that to end an argument with a child or anybody, just listen to what they're saying and just look at them and say, you know, I think you're right, or you may be right.
Okay.
Especially with adults, they
That's
can't argue with
absolutely
that.
That's true.
Yeah, because then they're arguing with themselves.
Yeah, and they'll look at you like, well,
When Hal and I were first married, I would put a clown nose on whenever he started trying to argue with me about stupid stuff.
oh, yeah.
He couldn't maintain an argument with a clown.
Good.
We can talk about my, never mind. All right, let's pray. Loving God, we thank you for this time together. Thank you for the gift of the children you brought into our lives. We ask you to equip us for their care and their nurture. Help us to raise them into responsible adults who seek your face and who know that you are kind and loving God. We thank you for this time together, for our fellowship and for our friendship as it grows. We pray that you continue to bless it and help it to inspire us and to grow us. In Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks, guys. Turn this off before we.
I like this class.
God, it's still